Hello, y'all. Thanks for coming back. Be sure to hit the notify and subscribe buttons and hit the comments. Tell me what you think. This next one is part 2 of a series I did back in 2002. It's called The Trip to Target World. After the call to Bob, I had pretty much given up on buying a new deer rifle. Oh, sure, I still hit gunbroker.com, and I still read a lot. If a mint condition Savage 99 came up for auction, you could bet I followed it. If I read a review of one of those new short magnums at the barbershop, you can bet I was digging through my reloading data looking for comparisons. Still, Bob's words carried me throughout the winter and well into the spring. I went to 2 gun and nut shows and saw nothing of any great interest. My only break with routine was one brief Saturday morning experimenting with 70 grain loads of my 223s, thinking it might be a deer cartridge. That ended up with a lot of keyholing and nowhere near the results I'd expected. By April, I settled back into my 30-06 rut. It was now just a matter of picking a powder and a bullet. I was in Bass Pro Shops looking for some Federal number 4s for turkey season when I think the bug actually hit me again. Suddenly, there was a Browning BLR in my hands. Then a perky little Remington in one of those goofy new calibers. I heard myself saying, "Anything in 257 Roberts? What's y'all got in a 7mm? Can you get this in walnut?" The only thing that shook me from my trance was the salesman coming back with a box of Remington number 5s and a price tag well north of $20. "Geez, I'm going to shoot turkeys, not date them." "These are the new extra hard shots, sir," he replied. "It will really tighten up your pattern." After explaining that my pattern did not need tightening, he finally did bring forth some Federal number 4s. I thanked the men at the counter and left. They smiled and waved back like the hometown whore. Turkey hunting keeps a man's mind filled well enough, but it wasn't much more than the day after season. I was beginning to think about deer season, deer loads, and deer rifles. I convinced myself it wasn't out of the way to go home a different way. And one day I checked out a gun store in Hamilton. There wasn't anything of real interest, but I knew that wasn't the end of it. I started seriously watching about 5 calibers on Gunbroker again. For a change, I actually bought a copy of that year's Guns Illustrated, not the 2-year-old version you find in the used bookstores. It's a sure sign I was getting serious. What finally did me in was a sales flyer from Target World. "Overstocked on all long guns. Come help us out. Major reductions." They made it sound like a charity auction. I couldn't resist. Besides, I'd held off this long. I knew I could make it through the summer without having to buy another rifle. This was just looking. "Hi, what can I do for you?" the guy said. "I got the flyer. What have you got?" "Well, what are you looking for?" he said. Lever, possibly. Or possibly a Ruger Deerfield, or maybe, how's this?" It was a Marlin 336 AS. It was in 30-30. It had a Simmons 3-9 scope. It had just enough scuffing on the stock to knock the price down, but nothing I couldn't get rid of. It looked like Well, in the cold fluorescence of the gun store lighting, it looked like the girl I'd known in high school. I casually looked at the price tag, then shouldered it. The stock was a bit short, but it came right up on the irons. There was no checkering, but the smoothness of the grip and the forearm gave it a sense of familiarity and warmth. It was a high see-through mounting, so the scope was a bit of a stretch, but my eye settled right in. I mounted it again, and it was like we'd grown up together. Yes, this was the girl I'd met at the party, the one I'd felt I'd always known. I was reeling now. That scent of light oil and just a hint of powder, my mind began to fog. I've got to think about this, I said, and dashed off to the reloading aisle to ponder my fate. Yes, indeed, it was a handsome rifle, certainly the perfect vision of the lever deer gun. It's funny, but I've hunted Kentucky now, at that time, 15 years. 30-30 has been the caliber most fellows choose, but they dream of a 30-06. When a man actually goes out and gets an .06, he speaks of it as a watershed in his life. .06 has a mystique of power and a myth of knocking deer off their feet. In the schoolyard of the mind, .06 is the varsity cheerleader. 30-30 is just the girl you know from study hall. For me, the mythology had run backwards. I'd fallen into hunting in Kentucky with the 30-06 already in hand. For me, the 30-30 was the light stalker, filling my head with visions of effort bounding over the ridges, and it was the late season companion that shouldered easily no matter how many layers I wore. It spelled freedom. Fellow came up to the counter and admired the lever. His back was to me, and I didn't recognize him as the owner. Yes, sirree, said the man. This is the finest one of these we've had here. Jealousy leapt from the pit of my being. I suddenly needed that rifle. I needed to protect it from another suitor. I returned to the counter quickly and struggled to regain my grip by asking to try another. The salesman brought down a Model 94 Winchester. Nothing special. He then brought out the Ruger Deerfield I'd asked for. Too much like my Mini 14 to get worked up over. My eyes kept drifting back to the Marlin 30-30. There had to be a way out. How firm are you on the $300? I asked coolly. Sir, that's the regular price. The sales price is on the red sticker. I was trapped. Goodness, I said, what a surprise my wife will have. Oh, you don't have to tell her, said one bystander. You can do like my buddy, said another. Tell her you're holding it onto it for a friend. One that's going away for a while. All in all, I got 5 suggestions on how to deal with wives and rifles. No, I said, she got used to this just before the 2000 election. It's just, I hadn't planned on getting a new one. 15 minutes later, I was in the car with the Marlin riding in the passenger seat. The sun glinted off the receiver, and it seemed like it had always been there. Next time, I'll finish up by taking the 30-30 afield on the rifle opener. Until then, have a good one, y'all.